Welcome to our explainer on the great, unsolved enigma of Mount Kailash. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the geography, the ancient myths, and the scientific realities to truly understand one of the most fascinating locations on Earth. Let's get right into it.
To kick things off, consider this completely baffling question. How does a mountain that stands at 6,638 meters, which, by the way, is nearly 2 whole kilometers shorter than Mount Everest, remain completely unconquered by humanity? I mean, thousands of climbers have summited Everest, yet not a single modern human has ever stood atop the peak of Kailash.
Part 1. The Mystery of Mount Kailash.
So, let's dive into the chilling stories that sparked this intense global curiosity back in 1993. It all began with a highly publicized expedition to western Tibet, led by a Russian doctor named Ernst Moldashev. He returned with some absolutely wild tales, including stories of 4 Siberian climbers who allegedly attempted the ascent, rapidly aged, and passed away within a year. Moldashev claimed that Kailash literally acts like a time machine, where time dilates so aggressively that days pass in mere hours. His proof? He said hair and nails were growing 2 weeks' worth in just 12 hours. He even went so far as to propose that the perfectly shaped mountain is actually hollow, acting as a vault for ancient underground civilizations like Shambhala. Crazy, right?
Part 2. Religious and Geographical Background. To really understand how these bizarre claims took root, we've got to look at the profound cultural weight of this mountain. It's actually amazing, because 4 major world religions all independently revere this one single peak. Hindus believe it's the physical home of Lord Shiva and Parvati. Buddhists see it as the home of the meditating deity Chakrasamvara. For Jains, it's known as Ashtapada, the very site of their first Tirthankara's liberation. And followers of the ancient Tibetan Bon religion view it as the ultimate axis point where heaven and earth meet. Because of this, every single year, pilgrims travel to walk a grueling 52-kilometer path all the way around its base. Some move clockwise, while others go anti-clockwise.
And geographically, it is just as mesmerizing. The mountain boasts an almost perfect pyramid shape with 4 sheer faces that align exactly with the north, south, east, and west compass directions. It's like a giant natural compass. Plus, these faces are incredibly steep, so steep in fact that snow simply can't stick to them. It just falls straight down. On top of all of that, the mountain acts as the birthplace for 4 massive Asian rivers, the Indus, Sutlej, Brahmaputra, and Karnali, supplying water to literally millions of people.
Part 3. 2 mysterious lakes.
Now, just a few kilometers from the mountain lie 2 massive bodies of water that couldn't be more different from one another if they tried. On one side, you have Lake Mansarovar, which is full of pure, fresh, drinkable water. Believers say this is where the gods bathe. But sitting practically right next to it is Lake Rakshasta, a salty, toxic, and utterly lifeless body of water, believed to be the bathing ground of demons. It is incredibly rare to find 2 massive lakes sitting so close together with such polar opposite properties.
Part 4. Myth versus Science.
So you might be wondering, how much of this actually holds up to modern scrutiny? Well, the mystery of the salty, lifeless Lake Rakshasta is beautifully and simply explained by geography. It's an endorheic lake, which just means it has no natural outflow. As water evaporates over centuries, all those minerals and salts are left behind, eventually turning the lake highly saline and toxic to life. Lake Mansarovar, on the other hand, sits at a slightly higher elevation. When it overflows, its fresh water and salts flush right out into Rakshasta. This keeps Mansarovar fresh while making Rakshasta increasingly salty over time. It's just nature doing its thing.
And what about that perfectly artificial-looking pyramid shape that Moldashev claimed was built by ancient civilizations? Turns out, it's a completely standard geological phenomenon. Mount Kailash was formed around 1.5 million years ago during the Quaternary Ice Age. Massive glaciers slowly slid down the mountain, carving and smoothing its rock faces into that sharp, distinct peak. We actually see this exact same natural carving process with the Matterhorn right over in the European Alps.
Moving on to the supposed perfect math surrounding Kailash. If you spend any time on the internet, you will undoubtedly find myths claiming that the mountain's placement is mathematically supernatural. Specifically, the rumor is that it sits exactly 666 kilometers from the North Pole, 666 kilometers from Stonehenge, and exactly double that from the South Pole.
But here's the crucial point. When we check the actual geographic data, the real distances completely debunk this supermathematics. The mountain is roughly 6,550 kilometers from the North Pole, 6,900 kilometers from Stonehenge, and 13,400 kilometers from the South Pole. So the 666 math, it's entirely fabricated just to create a false sense of mystery.
Furthermore, let's take a look at those time travel and rapid aging claims. According to Einstein's theory of general relativity, for time dilation to occur, you'd need either immense gravitational shifts or extreme speeds. Neither of those exists at Mount Kailash. And when we look a little closer at Dr. Moldashev, the guy who started these claims, it turns out he's actually an eye surgeon, not a physicist or a geologist. He has a long history of promoting fringe beliefs, like leading expeditions to find mermaids, vampires, and underground Dracula castles in Romania. Needless to say, his claims about Kailash have zero backing from the scientific community.
But wait, what about the disorientation and sudden storms reported by early actual explorers like Hugh Rutledge in 1926 or R.C. Wilson? Are there invisible force fields pushing climbers back? Not quite. At elevations over 4,000 meters, oxygen drops significantly. This causes brain swelling, severe headaches, confusion, and even hallucinations. Combine this intense altitude sickness with the Himalayas' notorious microclimates that spawn sudden, violent lightning storms, and you get an incredibly hostile environment. Even NASA investigated the area back in 2003 using the Terra satellite's Aster instrument and found absolutely zero magnetic or supernatural anomalies. Oh, and as for those 4 Siberian climbers who supposedly rapidly aged, the Russian Mountaineering Federation confirmed they have absolutely no record of such an expedition ever taking place.
Part 5. The real reason it's unclimbed.
So if it isn't magical time machines, invisible force fields, or magnetic anomalies stopping climbers, what is the true barrier? Well, the answer is beautifully captured in a warning given to the legendary Italian mountaineer Reinhold Messner. Back in 1985, Messner, who by the way was the first man to climb Everest without supplemental oxygen, was actually invited by the Chinese government to summit Kailash. But his friends warned him, one should not trample in mountain boots on God's turned to stone. Messner completely understood the immense spiritual weight of the mountain and respectfully declined the invitation. He stated that conquering the peak would crush the souls of the millions who revere it. Messner's refusal really reflected a larger cultural shift. The global climbing community and governments ultimately aligned to protect the profound spiritual sanctity of these sacred mountains. After a Spanish team led by Jesus Martinez Novas attempted to climb Kailash in 2001, global protests erupted. The international pressure was so intense that China officially and legally banned climbing Mount Kailash that exact same year. And this isn't an isolated event either. Bhutan similarly banned the climbing of the 7,600-meter Gangkhar Punsum in 1994 out of respect for local spiritual beliefs, making it the highest unclimbed mountain in the world today.
Ultimately, we live in a world where humanity has aggressively conquered the moon, mapped the absolute depths of the ocean floor, and summited almost every perilous peak on the planet. Yet Mount Kailash remains a rare, beautiful example of human restraint. The true mystery of Kailash isn't paranormal at all. It's a profound lesson that some things are simply bigger than our desire to conquer them.
Which leaves us with a fascinating thought to take away from our explainer today. As our technological ability to reach the farthest extremes of our planet grows, what other places on Earth deserve to remain unconquered simply because their mystery and sanctity are worth protecting? Think about that for a second. We'll see you in the next one.